WWE continues with the White Rabbit teases by leaving flyers on cars outside of the Smackdown tapings this past Friday. We have an update on WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg. When is he expected to return to a WWE ring? Is it going to be soon or in the near future? We have an update on the botched Fireball spot with Karrion Kross and Drew McIntyre this past week on SmackDown. Elias, when is Elias set to return to WWE television now that Ezekiel seemingly is gone? Cody Rhodes, we have an update on his injury recovery. We have the preliminary SmackDown ratings from Friday's episode, and Veer Mahaan is back in NXT. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. So let's continue talking about what everyone likes to talk about at the moment. That's the White Rabbit. Yes, more clues, more teasers, more cryptic hints as to who is the person behind all of these cryptic clues. Who indeed is the White Rabbit? Who indeed is going to be revealed as the person behind the White Rabbit minigames and teasers? Well, a little bit of an update. Not a huge one, not in the scale of the minigame of Hangman we saw this past Monday on Raw, not in the same way that we saw that game of sort of Pac-Man-ish on SmackDown on Friday, but we do have a little bit of an update here. So of course SmackDown on Friday was the highly anticipated 9/23 episode of SmackDown in Salt Lake City, which had a lot of fans buzzing following WWE's White Rabbit teaser on Raw this past week. Now, of course, the video ended with the White Rabbit next to the phrase, "Come with me," and the date flashing 9/23 flashing on the screen, which of course built hype that a reveal could happen on SmackDown on Friday. Well, as we spoke about yesterday, the QR code on SmackDown on Fox took us to a minigame which flashed the coordinates for the arena that next week's Raw is going to be taking place in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, seemingly confirming we're in this for the long run and we are going to get more and more clues and hints before we eventually find out who indeed is the person behind the White Rabbit teasers, with the general feeling is that it's going to lead to a return for the Fiend Bray Wyatt. However, just in case the fans in attendance were unable to scan the QR code whilst it was happening live during the broadcast, which appeared during Hit Row's backstage party segment, the White Rabbit made sure to make its presence felt in Salt Lake City, as fans discovered when they left the arena. This is absolutely brilliant. Fans discovered that when returning to the parking lot after the show, the Rabbit, or someone representing the Rabbit, had left flyers on the cars parked there, featuring the coordinates shown at the end of the game. You can see them on the screen right now, actually. The flyers, they've got the coordinates, they've got the Rabbit. And look, these are just little things that this is what's great about this. This is what is fantastic. I've been waxing lyrical. If you've watched any of the videos I've done talking about the White Rabbit recently, I've been waxing lyrical because I love this. I love creativity. I love the mystery nature. I love a mystery. I love a whodunit. I love trying to figure things out. I love trying to put clues together. And yes, you do end up like that meme off It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia or whatever, where you've got the string and the board and all that kind of stuff. Look, I get it, but it's fun. I mentioned some of my favorite WWE returns in the past are the Chris Jericho ones, the Save Us Y2J code and the mystery vignettes he had in 2012, all that kind of stuff. It's fun. And even the Bray Wyatt initially when he was transforming into the Fiend, those Firefly Funhouse vignettes had little cryptic clues that people were trying to figure out at the time, going, what does this mean? What is that? What is going on here? And do these flyers have really anything to do with it? Do they give us any new clues? No, they don't. They don't give us any new clues. They don't give us any new updates. But it's the level of detail that I really appreciate. And that's what's great about this. You have to remember, none of this is aired on television. None of it. We haven't seen a White Rabbit tease on television. We've seen QR codes, we've seen crows hanging around in the background, but we haven't seen a White Rabbit vignette on television. They've all been scan this QR code, go to this minigame. They've all been during commercial. Before we even got the QR codes, it was during commercial breaks for SmackDown, during live events which aren't televised, during commercial breaks for Monday Night Raw. And it's kind of this sort of underground groundswell of social media conversation and discussion that is just bubbling and getting bigger and bigger, seemingly week by week, day by day. And it really truly is the attention to detail that I think is really getting people excited about this. So the fact that those in attendance, because you have to remember as well, those in attendance, possibly they're thinking, oh, well, okay, what are we going to see when it comes to the White Rabbit stuff tonight? What are we going to see? And they would have seen what everyone else had seen previously if they'd gone to a WWE show. That's the White Rabbit song playing during commercial breaks or between matches. And they can't really scan the QR codes whilst they're on the Titantron or whatever. So they're thinking, I thought maybe we'd see a little bit more. And they go back to their cars and then they see the White Rabbit leaflets being left around. That is good stuff. And it's the level of detail, it's the level of creativity that I really do appreciate. And of course, guys, once we get more information about any of this White Rabbit stuff, once we get more details or a new clue or a new teaser, we're going to break all of it down. So now's the time to subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. Smash a like on the like button as well. Let's talk about Goldberg. Yes, if you thought that the end of Goldberg was going to be when Vince McMahon resign/retire, you might be wrong. You might be wrong because, of course, Crown Jewel is just around the corner. It's on November 5th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Of course, the main event is Logan Paul challenging Roman Reigns for the undisputed Universal Championship. However, WWE this month has been celebrating Goldberg's 25th anniversary, leading some to think, could Goldberg be set to return for this Saudi show? You have to remember that Goldberg has worked several of the Saudi shows ever since WWE entered into the business relationship with the Saudi Arabian government in 2018. He was even rumored to have a specific special deal specifically focused on wrestling these Saudi shows. His last two WWE matches, of course, have both taken place in Saudi Arabia. However, of course, Goldberg's contract, or the dates on his contract, have subsequently expired. But that's not to say that Goldberg isn't open to working for WWE again. In fact, a couple of months ago, he actually said in an interview he's ready for his next match, and he was at one point rumored to be a replacement for Brock Lesnar when the Beast briefly walked out of WWE the week before SummerSlam, when all of this Vince McMahon stuff was going on, of course. Goldberg was rumored to be the replacement. Now, to add a bit more weight to this, WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg will indeed be a guest on next week's edition of WWE's The Bump, which of course is going to be on Wednesday, September 28th. As I mentioned, they're hyping up that he's going to be celebrating 25 years of his illustrious career, and it wouldn't be the first time that The Bump has been a place for an announcement that something is going to happen regarding Saudi shows or regarding WWE matches happening. So keep an eye on this. Basically, the logic would be that if something's going to get announced when it comes to Goldberg's return to the ring, it could be in the next week or so. How do I feel about it? Look, I assumed, like many people, that once his contract expired, or the dates on his contract expired, that Goldberg wouldn't be wrestling anymore for WWE. Now, when he came out and he said, I still feel like I can do it. I'm still open to it. I'm waiting for the call, essentially. The interesting thing is going to be, what does Triple H want to do? Triple H holds the power now. Now, Triple H and Goldberg actually have a pretty good relationship, which is wild, because if you'd have said that to Goldberg or Triple H years ago, you'd have said that's laughable, because they had a really bad relationship stemming from Goldberg's run from 2003 to 2004. But now they get on very well. They have a good relationship. I don't know if Triple H is going to want to go in the direction that Vince McMahon went in with WWE, whereby having a lot of part-time stars, bringing back a Goldberg to go over talent, or bringing back a Goldberg to be at the Royal Rumble, to be at Crown Jewel, or to be at Elimination Chamber or whatever. Maybe Triple H feels like, no, we need to pull back on that and we need to get these full-time stars over. So that's going to be interesting, but 25 years of Goldberg. At the very least, we are going to get Goldberg on WWE television soon, I believe. It's just a case of, is he going to be wrestling? Crown Jewel would be a likely part of that. We'll have to wait and see. But how do I feel about it? I don't see a ton of value in it anymore, it must be said, but time will tell when it comes to that. The fireball spot on SmackDown. Yes, there was a bit of a botch on WWE Smackdown this week. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but if you couldn't tell, the flash paper segment on this week's episode of SmackDown did not go as planned. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that very clearly the flash paper was not ready for live television and didn't work in a moment where it needed to catch enough of someone's face to sell. Word got delivered to Karrion Kross to keep going. He and Drew McIntyre improvised the rest of what happened. Fightful are also reporting that the flash paper was actually brought with the team that took the company jet to SmackDown Smackdown and wasn't picked up locally or brought with the prop team, basically saying that they picked it up, I guess, somewhere in Stamford or something like that, and they took it on the jet with them. So maybe actually Triple H was flying around with some with some flash paper. I don't know. It didn't look good. As I mentioned, flash paper has been used for a long time in pro wrestling, and it takes experience. There have been fireballs that have not worked. Arguably one of the most famous being Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior, right? At Halloween Havoc 1997. So it wouldn't be the first time, and it just looks bad. Now, after the fireball, McIntyre gave a spine buster to Cross. Scarlett then hit McIntyre with a low blow. Cross locked in the Cross jacket, and before he let McIntyre go, he said he will see him at Extreme Rules and that this is what he wanted. So they had to improvise, basically. They had to improvise all of it, and I think they did a fairly good job, but that's the thing with flash paper, as I mentioned. Like, it's notorious for not being for being difficult, shall we say. So that isn't a huge surprise there. Let's talk about Elias now. Elias is seemingly set to return to WWE television. As I mentioned previously, I think we spoke about this either last week or the week before, Ezekiel in WWE seemingly is no more. It was reported, I think last week, that Monday Night Raw star Ezekiel had been indeed removed from the internal WWE roster, with his older brother Elias replacing him on said internal roster. Now, with Elias now being back on the WWE roster, the question comes, when's Elias going to return? When's Elias going to be back in the fold? When's Elias going to be back on WWE TV? Of course, he made a one-off appearance on Raw a few months ago as part of this ongoing Ezekiel, Kevin Owens situation. He is the same person, blah, blah, blah. Well, it appears as though we all owe Kevin Owens a giant apology, because as per Dave Meltzer in this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, Elias will return to WWE television once his beard is fully grown, which is actually something that I kind of said a little bit in jest. I actually said this in jest, that it was just a case of wait for his beard to grow back, then it'll be on TV, and that's what they're going to do. And to be honest, like, as much as the Ezekiel thing did get over, it really shouldn't have. It's a fairly dumb storyline, and it's not even an original storyline. As I mentioned, it was done in Impact Wrestling in 2011 with the Abyss, Joseph Parks kind of thing, which was great. But as I spoke about previously, it's not anything new, and it didn't really have longevity, and it got over in spite of being, frankly, a stupid idea. That's a credit to Kevin Owens. That's a credit to Elias for getting a gimmick that was not great over. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Elias, indeed, when he is back. But it's going to be Elias, not Ezekiel, returning to WWE TV. Cody Rhodes. Do we have an update on Cody Rhodes and his recovery from his pec surgery? Now, Cody Rhodes has provided an update on his injury, explaining why he doesn't have an official timetable for his return just yet. Rhodes suffered a pectoral muscle tear back in June when he was training for his Hell in a Cell match against Seth Rollins. Now, of course, it was a bit of a double whammy, wasn't it? Because he had a strain or a partial tear, then he was weight training and it tore completely off the bone. Obviously, we saw what Rhodes looked like in that match against Rollins, which is fantastic, but it was not pretty whatsoever. The former All Elite Wrestling Executive Vice President notably wrestled the full match against Rollins with a huge bruise across his chest and arm. Huge being an understatement. It was, frankly, almost grotesque. Now, of course, Rhodes has been out of action since undergoing surgery in the days following the Hell in a Cell match. But speaking with TMZ Sports, Rhodes noted that his doctors know he'll try and beat his return timetable if he was given one. The WWE superstar noted that he had been told that he has the strength of an 11-year-old on that side of his body. Discussing his WWE run so far, Rhodes said, quote, "No complaints, they've treated me like the house that built me, which they were, and honestly, it was amazing. We were back and everything was rolling so fast. Then I tore my pec. It was like the best 3 months of my life. Hopefully get back to that soon. I was told I have the strength of an 11-year-old, but I was pretty strong at 11. Hopefully soon." You know, they haven't really given me a return timetable, because they know I'm stupid and I tried to test it. I got it in my mind where I want to be, and I think a lot of fans have it in their mind where I'd like to be, and that's hopefully where it's at. Right now, I do actually agree with what's going on, because I think what happens next, hopefully, and what we do, and this is all speculative up in the air, hopefully it's a run that people will remember, and I've got to be healthy for that. Now, WWE initially announced that Rhodes was expected to be out of action for 9 months following his original injury. The expectation, though, is that he could be back for the Royal Rumble in January. And as I mentioned, Rhodes would probably want to be back even sooner. But Look, I mean, I'll hold my hands up when it comes to Cody Rhodes. I wasn't sure how this WWE run was going to go. And look, things have changed since he went under the knife as well. There's a different regime in charge, but I think Triple H would also do the same presentation that Vince McMahon was doing as well. So hopefully he can return soon. And as I mentioned, I think he's probably the favourite at this point to win the Royal Rumble. And on top of that, I think he's probably the favourite to be one of the people that takes either the Universal or WWE Championship away from Roman Reigns. I really think that's going to be the case. Rhodes feels like a big deal in WWE, feels like a big star, and that's credit to Rhodes, that's credit to WWE for the way they've presented him. I think it's a credit to everyone involved, I really do. SmackDown this week was a very fun episode, it must be said. It saw the return of Roman Reigns to WWE television as well, and the preliminary numbers for SmackDown on Friday on Fox are in. Spoiler TV reported that on September 24, SmackDown drew 2.385 million viewers in a prelim viewership. Now, Hour 1 reportedly scored 2.338 million viewers, while the second hour drew 2.431 million viewers. Now, this number is an increase from last week's prelim viewership of 2.086 million, and the final number, which of course was 2.212 million. So it just goes to show that when we talk about these prelim numbers, we can be quite far off. I mean, just over 2 million, which is what the prelim number was last week, 2.086 in comparison to 2.12 is quite different. It really is. Now, Friday's episode recorded a 0.55 rating in the 18 to 49 demo, which is up from last week's 0.50 rating. You would say if the prelim number is 2.385, it might actually just be quite close to that. Again, the prelim numbers can be way off or they can be quite close. I would say that all signs indicate a really positive number for SmackDown this week. So it's going to be really interesting to see what that final number is. But all signs say that it's going to be positive. And look, WWE television's not a bad watch at the moment, which is crazy because for so long we said the opposite when it comes to WWE. Oh, it's so difficult to watch or it's a bad watch. And that's not the case now. And again, that's a credit to Triple H and a credit to everyone involved. And as I mentioned, I'm really fascinated to see what that final number is when it comes out probably tomorrow. Veer Mahaan is back in NXT. He was coming for so long on Monday nights. Now he's back on Tuesday. Raw star Veer Mahaan has seemingly been moved back to NXT to reform the Indus Sher tag team with Sangha. They teamed together at an NXT house show in Citrus Springs on Saturday, picking up a victory over Andre Chase and Bodie Hayward. The Indus Sher tag team was formed in NXT in 2020 when both men were using their previous names of Riku Singh and Saurav Gujjar. Singh was renamed Veer and moved to the main roster, aligned with Shanky and Jinder Mahal, where Gujjar remained in NXT. Now, Veer eventually split from Mahal and Shanky and gained a surname, becoming Veer Mahaan, and re-debuted in April 2022 after months and months of coming soon vignettes. And he wasn't coming for that long. Meanwhile, Gujjar has been renamed Sangha in NXT, re-debuted as the bodyguard of Grayson Waller earlier this year, although that ended up being pretty short-lived. So it looks like they're going to be back as Indus Sher in NXT. So all of that, the months and months and months and months and months and months and months, the meme that became Veer Mahaan is already back in NXT, and I guess that's just the difference. That's the difference between the new regime and the old regime in WWE. Because under the old regime, Veer Mahaan had all of these vignettes coming soon, and as I mentioned, it became a meme, it became laughable, and we heard all of these stories and all of these reports at the time of Vince McMahon, Bruce, there's no end goal here. They have no idea what it's going to be. And he got over our stupidity because it was laughable. And then again, they debuted him, feuding with the Mysterios again, but with no real idea of what he was going to be and what he was going to do or plans for him to do anything of that real significance. So the regime change happens, Triple H is in charge, and you just kind of saw Veer Mahaan disappear off television. Why? Because Triple H had the same conclusion that Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard, and the other writers did of, well, I have no idea what to do with this guy. I don't know. He doesn't have a character. He doesn't have anything. What are you trying to get me to do here? And the answer was nothing. So instead of doing what Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard did, of let's just put him out there and see what happens, he said, well, let's just send him back to NXT. Let's just send him back to NXT, have him be in the tag team he was originally in. They can get over there, or they can find out something different to do, and he can come back. It's not that difficult. And if anything, it's probably a smart move. And frankly, look, there's a lot of people coming back on the main roster right now, and he falls further and further and further and further down the card because of it. So I don't think it's a bad move, to be honest with you. So there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.